Welcome back to another episode of Brands Bites. And just so you guys know, there are some restriping going on outside. So if you hear background noise, there's just nothing I can do about this. However, Ford also cannot help themselves with this F-150 Lightning. They are going to reopen pre-orders, or I'm going to say pre-orders. They're going to reopen orders for this vehicle on May 9th. Now, there is a large amount of vehicles that still need to be made for you to actually receive yours, but this comes after many delays. They had a battery issue that was causing fires that Ford was able to isolate and they fixed, and then they had another smaller supplier hiccup where they weren't getting door handles for the vehicle as well. And supposedly in North America, they're having a hard time getting parts just all around. With that, they're going to hopefully start taking orders again. They hope to scale to an annual production of 150,000 units by the end of this year, which I believe would basically be the equivalent of what they have pre-ordered, or what was pre-ordered at the beginning of the time. But yeah, this is an interesting thing to happen with the EV charging space where it's at right now, and just EVs in general. Are people really going to wait for their? Are they going to place an order this far in advance for an electric F-150? When at this point, is the next model going to be out? Is there going to be a big update by the time their truck is ready to go? There's just so many questions when this happens with a newer vehicle from an automaker that does update them every year. Like, what's that look like as a consumer for these vehicles? Just, I mean, it'll be yet to be seen. And again, charging for me is just this. It's this sore point in EVs that people don't talk about. And if you live in a big city, like, it's probably not a problem. But if you need to travel at all, I mean, even on Tesla's network, it can be a problem. So that's, again, just it'll be fascinating to see how this affects Ford, especially with how much they lose on each electric vehicle leaving their factory. It's just astounding that they're staying up on it. Qualcomm has acquired Autotalks to boost its Snapdragon automotive safety technology for a reported 350 to 400 million. Now, you may have never heard of Autotalks before. They are a fabless chip maker out of Israel that builds semiconductor and system on chip technology to aid in automotive safety. Qualcomm is buying them to be more on the lead of the automotive industry and all these self-driving vehicles that are starting to be made. Everyone but Tesla seems to be using other people's parts. I know Tesla, I believe, does their thing in-house basically, but everyone else is kind of outsourcing everything and adding their own software to it, as Qualcomm is seeing here. So Qualcomm's automotive business partners to date include VW, General Motors, Mercedes-Benz, Cadillac, Honda, and Stellantis. Now, in September last year, it claimed a 30 billion design win pipeline in automotive, basically being the Giga Chad of automotive chips for self-driving. Now, they did see some pretty wild numbers. The QCT division, the core CDMA business covering mobile and wireless chip and related tech division of Qualcomm, saw an automotive revenue of 975 million in 21 and 1.3 billion in 2022. So that is a wild jump just in a like it's half a billion, but it's a big jump in the automotive industry. Clearly everything's heading this way. If you don't think AI cars or self-driving cars are coming, they are. A lot of them are here. They're now. They're just at that last couple percent, which always takes way longer to figure out, but it's here. It's going to happen. And Qualcomm is saying we're going to be number one at this. We don't want Nvidia, we don't want Intel, we don't want AMD, we don't want any of those guys taking our slack here. We're number one in phones. We're going to be number one here, and this is one of the steps they're taking to do that and be just the best of the best. I mean, you can't blame them for that. 3D printing is growing, and what better way than to print food? Now, I'm going to just go out there and say this, that not all food should be 3D printed. I'd be pretty sketched out by a 3D printed looking burger of sorts, but they did start with cheesecake. Now, this involves layers of graham cracker, peanut butter, Nutella, banana puree, strawberry jam, cherry drizzle, and frosting into one hopefully good tasting dessert here. As you can see, you can see the 3D printer lines as you would expect here. I am scared of the strawberry leaking out of places, the holes in the top. The 3D printing layers clearly don't necessarily always line up the best because this print job is interesting to say the least. This to me does not look appetizing. This looks like you squirted poop out your butt and this is what they're serving you. Now, it's a little more dressed up than that, but I don't know. 3D printing lines and food just don't look that great to me. These are all food grade like containers and it's edible. Like you can actually eat this. They did actually eat this. Uh yeah, it's weird. So each print is delicate and takes way harder than a normal 3D printer to do this. And you have to tweak each element individually during the print because of how just complex it is to print with food. It's hard to get things to stick together. That's why chocolate 3D printers are actually kind of cool because chocolate is one of the few things that will harden quickly from a high temp. And so you can actually print layers with it and they will like melt together perfectly like a 3D printer would. This type of food, however, is completely different, and there's just so many more things to figure out when you have layers that are going to mush and fall and, you know, spill out or are liquid. Whew, you gotta get on there. Just so many more things are going on here. Now, printing and food has taught them a few things. You need to use firmer ingredients to build up structure elements like walls that can be filled with the softer ingredients. That's what we're seeing here with these three layers. If you're watching here, you can see like the 3D printed lines, and then you see like the base layer, you see like a mid layer, you see like they put the strawberry in the middle, then you see another third layer to kind of build up to the top of the cheesecake. Now, problem with doing said thing is now you have the soft inside. Soft inside, well, if you're printing on top of that, it's gonna sag. That makes your print worse. There's a lot going on here, especially with food, and in my opinion, still doesn't look that appetizing as they admit here. Now, they had to hand mash banana till it was just the right consistency. I mean, there's so much going on here. Here's what quote unquote a spool of filament for a food 3D printer looks like. These are kind of your three canisters here. It's cool. It's interesting. Again, I don't know with these. There's certain things that just won't be 3D printable. Like printing meat would be weird. Maybe with vegan meat you can do that, and that would be. I mean, it's kind of cool. Like if you were to vegan 3D print a steak out, it'd be cool. But I don't know if I'd eat it. Nonetheless, it's cool that they're doing this. It's weird that this is where they want to take 3D printing. I just don't see a long-term application for this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in 2 years, McDonald's will fire all their employees, and when you go order, it'll just 3D print your food and throw it at the window, and then you have your food. I don't know. Florida startup says it can make electric air taxis happen. Now, nobody I don't think wants this because it turns out that planes are loud, and even electric planes, just by sound of wind going by them, are also very loud. So, the CEO of this Eve Air Mobility seems to think that I'm wrong and that this will be a thing because when you sit in traffic, you think there's got to be a better way to do this. In his opinion, that's flying electric vehicles. Now, Eve cites a range of 60 miles, but doesn't advertise a particular speed. But the trip calculator on its website assumes a 125 mile per hour cruising speed, so probably somewhere in there. Now, an April 2022 concept of operations paper says a flight from this neighborhood to the international airport, about a 15-mile in a straight line, would take about 12 minutes by this eVTOL for an average speed of at least 75 miles an hour. I don't see these taking off. What I see happening here is they get bought out and then they become just an airline manufacturer with electric batteries. But there's so many things to figure out because, holy, I just spit. My bad. There's so many things to figure out because you're going to have a big battery that's going to need to be charged or at least changed out. Now, is that going to cost, how much more is that going to cost than just a normal engine to have a battery that big? What does the range look like on that? What happens if there's a solar flare? And United Airlines invested 15 million in Eve, a deal that included a conditional purchase agreement. Like I said, they want to buy 200 of these planes. They're gonna just become an electric plane manufacturer. I don't think these will be used for short commutes like their website is kind of trying to make it seem. This is just gonna be a normal plane at the end of the day. And thinking the long term, they'll be cheaper, they'll be reliable, they'll be more blah blah blah. But for now, the upfront cost of a battery for one of these planes is just going to be astronomical. Plus the charging infrastructure that's going to be needed to add to airports. And how many extra batteries are going to need for a plane? Like if you do one flight and then you got to charge it for 12 hours, like that ain't going to work. So now you need like 8 batteries and you need them at all the places these planes go so that you can swap them out as you're going. I think there's just again, the same problem as electric cars, the charging, the battery, something's got to happen, and this is just not going to be it for now. Fortnite, though, is officially an Olympic esport because hell yeah. The first Olympic esports week will start June 22nd. Fortnite will be one of those. So, what the hell? Ticket sales for the Olympic esports event, which centers on the first in-person finals of 2023 competitive series. I skipped something, but we're doing it. If you can make to Singapore between June 22nd and June 25th, it will cost you about $7.50 to attend one day, or $15 for the 3-day competition starting on the 23rd. The Fortnite sport shooting match, holy crap, they got to work on this, take place June 24th, and you can stream on both Olympics.com and the Olympics social media page. I'm glad that gaming is becoming like a Olympic thing, I guess, to an extent, but like this is why in Singapore for the first one? Why is it only $20 for a 3-day ticket? Some of this doesn't even line up. You can just stream it for free on the Olympics site. In addition to Fortnite Island, in a step of holy king, let me try again. The addition of a Fortnite Island is in step with the committee's esports goal. This is a peaceful competition with a physical equivalent. I don't think so, but we're here. You still aren't able to see... Hang on. Holy crap, these sentences feel like they're written so poorly. You still aren't about to see a digital Olympics featuring Counter-Strike 2 or League of Legends. With that said, Fortnite is clearly the most popular game in reach in esports. I don't know. What other... If it's only a Fortnite event, how is this an Olympic esports series? Or is this just like the Olympics needed another thing to sell that wasn't just the Olympics that happens every 2 years? So they're going to hold just one-off esports tournaments now. There's so much happen. We're moving on. Fortnite's there. It's Olympic, I guess, and people are doing it. Samsung speeds up development of its tri-folding phone with a new patent. To be honest, I think that the single folding phone is plenty. I don't think we really need a 3-way one, but a cool concept at least. Now, these phones we've seen before work in folding into a V shape. I don't know. It's cool. They're filing patents to patent the patent of the phone or whatever. You got sensors and hinges and sensors and chips and hinges and all that stuff being patented here. Cool concept. I don't think a 3 folding device will just take off. To be completely honest, as somebody who has a folding phone, if I had to fold it 3 times to get it open or twice or whatever it is, I probably would stop using it over just a regular folding over just the main display. I find myself more and more using the main display on my device as it is. And, well, it's great to have the iPad feature. If it was a triple fold, I don't even know if I would bother. So we'll just see what happens here. All right, the noise outside is picking up. That's enough for today's episode. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.